Chapter 3. Hues of a Lie. The collector's gallery wasn't a place you could simply walk into, not even for his star acquisitionist. It was a monument to his power, disguised as a private museum in the city's opulent azure spire. The public entrance was a smiling lie of welcome mats and polite security. Alara knew the truth of the place was in its veins, the service corridors, the ventilation shafts, the forgotten architectural blueprints. She emerged from a maintenance duct behind the towering sculpture of polished chrome, silent as a whisper. The air here was different from the raw, living chaos of the Narrows. It was cold, sterile, and silent, the kind of quiet that feels heavy with unspoken threads. Every priceless tack displayed under perfectly calibrated light seemed to watch her. Each one was a story of a heist, a threat, or a life ruined. She knew, because she had acquired many of them. Her desire was a cold, hard knot in her gut. She needed answers. And to get them, she needed to sell the lie of her life. She found him in the central atrium, standing before his latest prize, a kinetic sculpture of glass and light that shifted in slow, hypnotic patterns. Marcus Thorne, the collector, looked as impeccable as ever. His tailored suit was the color of a moonless night, his silver-streaked hair perfectly coiffed. He held a glass of amber liquid, swirling it gently as he admired the art. He didn't turn as she approached, his reflection captured in the sculpture's glass panels alongside her own weary, rain-dampened figure. "Ariel," he said, his voice a smooth, dangerous purr. "You are late, and you return empty-handed. That is unlike you." "There were complications," Alara said, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. She kept them shoved deep in her pockets. "Your information was incomplete. Tanaka didn't just have digital security, he had a guardians." She began her performance, sketching the lie in the air between them with her words. "A man, tall, dressed in gray, he had a domain. Something to do with decay. He was waiting for me." Marcus turned then, his smile a masterpiece of faint concern. "A domain user? How troublesome! You were, of course, successful in escaping him." "I was," she confirmed, "but the asset. It was destroyed in the fight. The Guardian's power was absolute. He reached for it, and it turned to dust before I could secure it." To sell the lie, she channeled a flicker of her power, directing a faint, illusory image into his mind's eye, a brief, hazy vision of the crystalline heart crumbling into ash. It was a weak trick, but the best she could manage in her exhausted state. Marcus's smile didn't waver. He took a slow sip of his drink, his cold, calculating eyes never leaving hers. The silence stretched, thick with judgment. This was the obstacle, his terrifying perception. He didn't just see people, he appraised them. A clever rendering. "My dear Lara," he said softly, shattering her composure, "your artistry is, as always, exquisite, but a lie, even a beautifully grasped one, is still a lie." He set his glass down on a nearby pedestal with a soft click. The asset was not a gem, it was a domain core, one of the very few that hasn't been locked away or destroyed. And it cannot be turned to dust by the gray hand. It can only be claimed. He took a step closer, his hatted mask falling away to reveal the cold protector beneath. "He didn't destroy it, it bonded with you. I can feel its resonance clinging to your soul like cheap perfume. Where is it now?" Alara felt the blood drain from her face. I lost it, in the sewers during the escape." "You lost it," he repeated, his voice dangerously flat. He began to circle her slowly, like a shark inspecting its prey. "You are the finest thief in this city. You do not lose things. You stole a living piece of magic, awoke its ancient guardian, led him on a chase across half the city, and now you come to me with empty hands and pathetic lies." His anger was a palpable force in the room, colder and sharper than the gray man's entropy. "I didn't raise you to be pathetic, Alara. I raised you to be a masterpiece." "Why?" She finally choked out, the question that had been burning behind her teeth. "Why send me for something you knew was guarded by? Whatever he is, you set me up." "A test," Marcus said, stopping directly in front of her. "And an opportunity. I wanted to see if the core would choose you. It seems it did." His expression softened into something grotesquely paternal. "Your parents would have been so proud." Alara froze. He never spoke of her parents. They were a closed book, a tragedy he had supposedly rescued her from. What do you know about my parents? I know everything, he said, his voice laced with a triumphant cruelty. They were artists like you. In fact, that domain you wield, this ability to bend reality to your sketchbook, it was your mother's. She was brilliant. Unruly but brilliant. They found that very same core years ago. They thought it was a source of inspiration. They didn't understand that such power should not be left in the hands of whimsical, unreliable artists. It requires structure, ownership. The truth landed like a physical blow, stealing the air from her lungs. What did you do? I collected what was owed to me, he said simply. They made a deal with me for protection, for studio space. They reneged, so I claimed their greatest creation as payment. He gestured, not at any of the art, but at her, you. The world tilted on its axis. Her entire life, the story of the orphan he'd saved from the streets, the kindness he'd shown her, the training he provided, it was all a lie. A frame he had built around a stolen painting. He hadn't saved her, he had stolen her. Now, he continued, his tone shifting back to business, you have made a mess. You have bonded with my property and then misplaced it. This creates a debt. From the air beside him, a piece of parchment materialized, dark ink swirling across its surface to form elegant binding script. It wasn't paper, it felt ancient, smelling of dust and broken promises. This was his power, his true domain. The domain of debt. You will find the core, the collector commanded, his voice imbued with a chilling authority that resonated with the magical contract. Silas, the gray hand, will be hunting it. He will lead you right to it. You will retrieve it, and you will bring it to me. Your life, your skills, your very magic are the collateral. No, Alara whispered, backing away. I won't be your tool anymore. It is not a request. He snapped his fingers. Pain, sharp and searing, erupted on the back of her left hand. She cried out, clutching it to her chest. When she dared to look, a new mark was etched into her skin, glowing with a faint, sickly light before settling into a tattoo of deep black ink. It was an intricate sigil, a stylized E, woven into a collector's mark, Marcus Thorne's signature. The magical parchment dissolved into motes of light. The contract was sealed. Now you are mine, Alara, the collector said, his voice once again calm and charming. In a way you never were before. Go find my core. Do not disappoint me again. She stared at him, at the man who had been her mentor, her protector, her entire world. Now he was just her owner, the monster who had orchestrated her entire existence. Without another word, she turned and fled. She didn't sneak this time. She walked out the front entrance, past the guards who now looked at her with a new, knowing fear. She was no longer the favored protégée. She was a leash dog, sent to hunt. Out in the rain-swept streets of Viridia, Yulera looked at the brand on her hand. It pulsed with a faint, cold light, a constant reminder of her chains. She was trapped, hunted by Silas, the man who wanted to destroy the core, owned by Marcus, the man who wanted to possess it. She was a pawn between two kings, and her life was a chessboard. She had nowhere to go, no one to trust. But as she stood there, feeling the weight of two impossible forces pressing in on her, a new feeling began to smolder beneath the despair, rage. And with it, a name, a rumor she'd heard whispered in the shadowed corners of the underworld. A neutral ground, a sanctuary for those like her, a place outside the collector's reach, the palette. It was a desperate hope, but it was the only color she had left to paint with.